Okay, I think we're live. Trying it one more time. Um, my apologies for you guys getting jerked around a little bit here. As I said, we're having a storm here. I probably shouldn't have tried to do a live stream, but so the signal's kind of wonky. We'll see if we can get this up and running again. So anyway, I played the Poor Side of Town by Johnny Rivers for a reason. The title of this is just The Poor. I wanted to address that and talk a little bit about what's going on in our country, at least from my point of view, and I'd love to hear from your point of view as well. Poverty or the poor, defining that's kind of a, individual thing. It might be dependent upon what country you live in. The poor in our country, in the United States, probably are vastly more well-to-do than people in other countries that are, particularly in Africa. But at any rate, I did want to talk about what's happening locally here in this country. So welcome to anybody coming in now. I apologize for the stream lag, and I completely lost the live stream, I think because of the storm that we're dealing with out here. So anyway, I was going to play a couple of little short clips. One's about a road rager, and one is about, kind of the opposite. So good, thank you, Janie. I'm going to play a little video here about road rage.
When this man started jumping on the car after the driver honked at him, he didn't know he was making the biggest mistake of his life. Because after hearing the horn, he completely lost control and walked straight to the car. He spit on the window and then started jumping on the hood with all his strength. But what he didn't know was that there were kids inside, and one of them called the police. Within 30 minutes, he was caught and sentenced to 3 years in prison.
So what we have is two different examples there on the road, as they say, on the road again. Sometimes things turn out badly and sometimes they turn out well. Welcome to Elena and Janie. Welcome back. Weedsy, welcome back. Anybody else who's wondering about typing and joining in, please feel free. You're very welcome here. I just go by whatever. Let's see here. Let me switch. There we go. I'll bring myself up on camera if I can. I know that's kind of a shock, but hey. So welcome to everybody. And so I wanted to show kind of the disparity between two extremes, really, in how we treat one another. When we're in need, if our car breaks down, we're poor. Suddenly we're poor in terms of we need help. It's one definition of being poor. Those who need help and assistance from others. And the first one was obviously the opposite of that, where someone's having a very bad day and the straw that broke the camel's back occurred and the person flew into a rage, and that almost always does not turn out well. So at any rate, the reason why I wanted to start off with that is just to give us kind of a bird's eye view of how what a difference we can make in terms of setting someone's day in the real positive direction, or we can make someone's day miserable, including our own. So we have a tremendous amount of responsibility for how that turns out. So anyway, the title of this is The Poor, and I was asked, I don't know if Hunter is going to come back. Hunter was in here earlier before we lost the signal, and he asked me what I forget exactly how he worded it, but what I know about the poor. And I was going to share with him, I grew up in Nebraska. We weren't poor. We were middle class, probably. Maybe a little lower middle class, but nonetheless, we weren't in poverty. In fact, I'm not sure I knew very many people who were poor. I knew of a few that struggled. But after I finished high school, I came out west, ended up in Tacoma, Washington, and then I first had my first experience of what it's like being poor. But I didn't even know it, in a sense, which is probably better that I didn't. I was going to school up on Yakima Avenue in Tacoma, up on what they call Hilltop, kind of a rough area today. But there was a technical school I attended for watch, clock, and jewelry repair, and it was a 2-year program. I finished in about a year and a half, but I lived right across the street from the school, which is free if you're under 21, which I was. I was 17 and a half. And I lived in a very small one-room apartment across from the school with steam heat, a Murphy bed that came out of the wall, and I guess you'd call it well, it had a little tiny refrigerator, kind of like a college dorm refrigerator, and one of these little countertop burners. What are those called? Where you just plug it in. It's an electric thing, real cheap. But anyway, and I didn't have a television set. I didn't have anything. I had a little pocket radio. And so I was a teenager, kind of on my own, going to school. And I had to come up with $50 a month for rent every month. That's how cheap it was. And for food and whatever else. And so, yeah, hot plate. Thank you, Janie. So I ended up living there. And I went to work while I was going to school as well. After school, I would go to work at a place called Meyer's House of Clocks, which was down on 6th Avenue. They had one at the Tacoma Mall as well. I don't know if they're still there or not, but so I repaired clocks for them. A lot of them were cuckoo clocks from the Black Forest in Germany. And I wasn't real good at it, but I was learning. I was in school to learn how to repair clocks and watches and jewelry. That was what I was trying to do. I was 17 and a half years old. And so I got just enough money to pay my rent, my monthly rent, and some food. I would go up to a store after school, a little mom and pop corner store, and buy a can of beef stew. And I put it on my hot plate. I had a little pan, and that was the evening meal. In the evening, I didn't have a TV or anything. I just had a pocket radio, and I turned it on. And I was so lonely back in those days, and I would listen. I liked rock and roll, but when I was feeling really down, you might say the poverty of loneliness, I would turn it on, of all things, a classical music station to kind of soothe me and make me feel a little more loved or whatever. But yeah, those were lonely times and times where I was getting by. I didn't realize how tough it could have been. If I had gotten sick, missed work, I wouldn't be able to pay my rent. What would have happened? I don't know. Fortunately, I didn't get sick. But that was a couple of years of my life as a teenager. It's not like being on the street, but I didn't realize how close I would have been to being on the street. But I just, after I finished the schooling, I went to work for Wisefield, which was a jewelry store in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know if they have them elsewhere, but that they did here. And then the Seiko Service Center, Seiko watches. I worked there for a while too. So anyway, that was my teenage years getting started. I was all by myself. I didn't have any family. They were all back in Nebraska. Well, actually, I had some family in Oregon, but I was up in Washington State and didn't have any friends, didn't have any family. So it's a different kind of, Mother Teresa said when she went to Florida, Mother Teresa went to some of the retirement homes, and she said, I've seen poverty in India, poverty Calcutta, all around the world. I've never seen poverty as bad as what I saw in Florida in the retirement homes, because she said that she saw the poverty of eyes of elderly people. Their eyes were staring at the door waiting for a loved one to come, and they didn't come. And she said that was the greatest poverty she ever saw, is when you're unloved. And we see oftentimes bloated bellies of children in foreign countries that are struggling, having enough to eat, and yet they're happy, they're smiling, and we like scratch our heads and go, what's up? And yet they're not in poverty with love. They have people who love them. They just aren't able to bring enough food to their table to help them. But they're different forms of poverty. So that's the topic, the poor. I wanted to talk about that. There's various forms of poverty that we experience. Yeah, we'd see, and Janie, thank you, hot plate. I don't know why it didn't come to me. But FDR, I wanted to just bring up an image of something FDR. No, not FDR. It was Hubert Humphrey, Vice President Humphrey. I believe he was the vice president during Lyndon Johnson.